Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a good night. I am Patrick. This is Storytelling Imperfectly, and welcome to the channel. And if you're new to the channel, particularly, welcome. I am Patrick, and I hope you like what you see. Guys, I got a crazy missing persons case for you today. It dates all the way back to 1976, and it's older than I am, and I feel like I'm Methuselah. But regardless of how old this case is, let's delve into it. Let's see if we can't come up with some answers of what happened to Trenny Lynn Gibson. Stick around, it's going to get strange. On October the 8th, guys, of 1976, Trenny Lynn Gibson, who was a 16-year-old girl that had the world in front of her. All possibilities were open, and I guarantee you her future was bright. She was known as being precocious, as well as sarcastic at times. She had a wicked sense of humor, and she was highly intelligent. This particular day, her school, which was in Knoxville, Tennessee, had a field trip. And field trips when we were kids, you sign your little permission slip, or your parents do, and the last thing you think is something bad's going to happen. I mean, and this is 1976. It's not like it's today where you never know what might happen. I mean, we live in a crazy world, but in 1976, things were a little bit, or at least seemed that way, more subdued and less crazy. Nonetheless, when the 40 children that went on this field trip, with their school counselor, whose name was Wayne Dunlap, who was the adult in charge, decided to go to Clingman's Dome on the North Carolina side of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. I'm sure nobody thought things were going to turn out the way they did. Now, they were hiking on a trail in particular from what was called Andrews Bald to Clingman's Dome. And it is a well-worn, well-marked, clear trail on the Appalachian Trail in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. Now, I have been there. I have actually walked this trail. I'm from that area originally. I grew up in the Great Smoky Mountains. And I can tell you that this trail, you can't miss. It's not something you can wander off of and get lost in the woods. And I will also say that if you do leave the trail from Andrews Bald to Clingman's Dome, you're going to hit rugged terrain that is instantaneous. I mean, as soon as you leave the trail, it becomes thick, and rocks and boulders and roots and rhododendron. If you don't know what that is, it's a type of plant that just grows under the canopy at times and is extremely thick. And so the idea that Trenny somehow wandered off the trail is really improbable. As the day progressed and the 40 kids were hiking the Appalachian Trail, they started breaking off into groups. Some were moving faster, some were moving slower, but Trenny would move from group to group as they went. Now, this is where things get odd. At approximately 3 p.m. in the afternoon, the group was actually about a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile to Clingman's Dome. They were halfway there, and it was at this point in time that Trenny disappeared. Upon missing, when they realized that Trenny was indeed missing, they immediately got the National Park Service involved. A massive search was kicked off, but a lot of times, progress is slowed down. A lot of times agencies don't cooperate, and I've never understood that. But the National Park Service has a tendency all across this country to drag their feet on missing person cases. And if you haven't seen my Dennis Martin video, go check that out, because they did the same thing there. Little Dennis went missing, and there were multiple agencies involved, but very little cooperation, and no trace of Dennis was ever found. Now, with Trenny, on the other hand, all these agencies started becoming involved, and of course, bad weather set in almost instantaneously as soon as Trenny went missing. I mean, that evening. Now, this is fall in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, guys. This happened in October. So, at night, the temperature drops dramatically. You can have a beautiful day in October 70 degrees, almost perfect weather. But at night, it can get down to the 40s and 30s. Now, with the heavy rain setting on, the National Park Service couldn't utilize all their tools. They wanted to have airplanes and helicopters, dogs, they wanted to have all the works come and look for Trini. But when that first night, heavy rains, plummeting temperatures, I mean, it got down into the 30s. It just hampered their search. So they actually didn't search that first day when the rain set in. They waited until the very next day to go looking for her. Now, some people have said that Trini might have run away, but there's no evidence or reason why she would. She didn't have an unhappy home life. According to Wayne Dunlap, the counselor or the adult involved with this group of 40 kids, said that Trini wasn't like the runaway type. I mean, she just not something she would do. And also, Trini was, like I said, intelligent. And so getting off the trail and go wandering off in the woods just also doesn't seem like something she would do. Now, there were other adults taking these 40 kids. It wasn't just Mr. Dunlap, Wayne Dunlap. It was also, there was a female teacher named Miss Coghill. And Miss Coghill actually said that she was about 200 feet away from Trini at one point in time behind her, going up the trail. And she noticed that Trini bent over and looked down at the ground at something and then wandered off the trail. I mean, she actually did leave the trail. Now, remember what I said, though. As soon as you left the trail, it becomes really rugged terrain. And also, what was she staring at? Why would an intelligent girl all of a sudden just walk off a well-maintained trail and head into the wildernesses of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park? Now, everybody that was with this group was interviewed by law enforcement and the National Park Service, trying to get a read on what might have happened to Trini. And one of the things that was really strange is that another student named Anita Bounds was with Trini, not moments before she disappeared. Anita said that she had stopped for some reason to take a break or to rest, or maybe it was to tie her shoe. But as she continued watching Trini started progressing up the trail. When she reached down to tie her shoe or scratch her leg, the reports are varied. I mean, everything I've read on this case, and there's newspaper articles. When Anita Bounds stopped to tie her shoe, when she looked back up, Trini was gone. And it dawned on her that she should still be able to see Trini walking up the trail. She wasn't that far ahead of her. Trini was not that far ahead of Anita. So it really kind of threw Anita off. So when she got up from tying her shoes, she moved forward and went up to where Trini is. She's looking up the trail, and she can't find her. And she's looking off the trail, both right and left, and there's no sign of Trini ever leaving the trail. Now, Anita had a brother named Bobby, and Bobby was also with them. And on the 9th, the day after Trini had gone missing, they interviewed Bobby as well as Anita. And Bobby actually confirmed what his sister Anita had said, which was that he was looking up the trail, and he saw Trini. And this also corroborates what Mrs. Coghill said, the other teacher with the students, is that Bobby said he looked up and he saw Trini bend over looking at something and then walk off to the right of the trail. Why? What did she see? And better yet, why would an intelligent 16-year-old girl, again, walk off into the wildernesses of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park? It makes zero sense, guys. And not only does it make no sense that she would do something like that, what really makes no sense is that as soon as she left the trail, people started looking for her within that group. They were calling her name. They were shouting for her. No answers. So where did she go? I mean, it's like she just evaporated into thin air. Now, something to be understood is that as the search progressed over the next few days, they did bring in dogs, they had helicopters, they had airplanes. they actually had a search radius of up to 15 miles. And there was no sign of her, guys. Now, there were two canines that did, in fact, pick up Trini's scent. And they managed to trail her for some distance from the trail where she had disappeared. However, all of a sudden, they lost the scent. She was gone. Like, they could not find Trini at all. So it is super curious as to not only was she but the dogs track her a few miles away from the trail, but then all of a sudden her scent disappeared. And again, if Trini is walking of her own volition off into the wildernesses of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, why would she not turn around when people are calling her name? You know, none of this is a good idea. I mean, the national park, the Great Smoky Mountain National Park in particular, is one of the most visited national parks in the United States. However, it doesn't stop the fact that people get lost there all the time. And there are quite a few people who have lost their lives becoming lost out in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. And some people are absolutely good at what they do. People go out hiking and camping. I mean, people who are avid campers and hikers, those folks lose their way. This was a unprepared, unequipped 16-year-old girl. So what did she see? Again, the question remains. And then why would she leave the trail and just go walking off? It makes no sense. I don't understand it. But what I do understand is that now 2 days had passed, and on October the 11th, that's when things kind of get really wonky. So they look for her for the 9th. They look for her on the 10th with dogs, and the National Park Service was involved. But on the 11th, Swain County, which is a county nearby in western North Carolina, near to where Trini went missing, they got involved. And they actually called up the National Park Service. Now, the commander of Swain County's Civil Air Patrol was a man named Commander John Maddox. And John Maddox actually contacted the National Park Service and said, hey, I got 40 men ready to go and search. I have canine units. I have 15 pilots who are willing to dedicate time to this search. And just a plethora of 5 helicopters. I mean, he had a cornucopia even of people willing to search for Trini. And you know what the National Park Service said? No, we don't need help. And in fact, if you bring all these men in here, they could disturb the backcountry. Now, this is par for the course with the National Park Services all across the United States, guys. This is nothing new, all right? With Dennis Martin, it was the same way. Dennis's father had 200 men who were willing to come in and help look for Dennis. And the National Park Service denied them, told them they could only bring 25 men in because they were afraid that these men would tromp and stomp on the plant life, the flora and the fauna of western North Carolina's back country. Now, I could give two craps. As a father, I could only imagine how frustrating this must have been. And indeed it was, because Bob Gibson, Trini's father, pleaded with the National Park Service to allow them to use all resources to try to find his daughter. But the National Park Service just kind of blocked them out. So finally on October the 13th, the FBI got involved. Now, it's something to be understood about the FBI, guys, is that they don't come in unless they suspect foul play. But when they came in, they never found anything that could suggest that foul play was involved, that somebody took Trini. So they left 2 agents behind after they stayed. They stayed for 24 hours. They questioned everybody. They did their due diligence for the FBI. And at the end of the day, they found no foul play, no evidence of foul play. And so they left 2 agents behind just to, kind of keep an eye on things. But overall, they were just, eyewitnesses at this point in time, or, at least observers, not eyewitnesses, but they were certainly observers. Now, I don't put much stock into psychics, guys. I'm not saying they don't exist. I've just never seen, hardcore proof that a human being can be psychic. However, even a psychic got involved, called the National Park Service and said, I've seen Trini, and she's in a hollow or maybe a bear den. and there's lots of acorns around. I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. I certainly do. But this was in the reports that I've read. So I would be remiss if I didn't tell you guys at least that much of it was a part of it. So on a paranormal level, even a psychic medium got involved saying that they saw Trini. But it's Western North Carolina, guys. A hollow. I mean, there's a hollow every 5-6 miles. You're going to come across a hollow or a valley. And it's really strange that somebody would come in. That's one thing I don't care for in these cases. I'm much more of a fact guy, and that's what I kind of go after. And again, the anguish the family must have felt, Trini's family must have felt, to have some psychic come in and be like, "Oh, I see Trini sitting in a hollow or a bear cave." I don't know. I think it's cruel. I wouldn't do that to a father or a mother or a family. But not everybody's me. So all in all, guys, the search for Trenny Gibson went on from October the 8th to October 22nd. And no evidence of Trenny was ever found. At the end of the day, the Park Service, like I said, had searched a 15-mile radius. They even had, they had German Shepherds, bloodhounds, helicopters. All told, about 300 people participated in the search. They had airplanes, multiple agencies looking for Trenny, and not a single shred of evidence of what happened to Trenny was ever found. April the 7th of 1977. Now remember, she went missing on October 8th, 1976. So almost 6 months later, Bob Gibson, who was Trini's father, went back to the Park Service and said, "Hey, I have more people. I would really like to go back to the area and look for my daughter again." But again, he was denied access. He was told that he may bring a few people, but all told, they were told to basically stay on the trail. That they weren't allowed to go into the wilds and look for Trini. The Park Service again talked about stepping on plants and disturbing the backcountry, as well as not wanting the parkway in springtime, which starts to become a busy season for the parkway, to become a circus atmosphere. I don't know. If I was Trini's father, I'd have slapped the dog mess out of somebody. I'd have slapped him so hard when they woke up, Trini would have been found again. I don't know. I'm just saying the anger I would have felt. I am a father. And if somebody said I couldn't go looking for my child, well, buckle up, Buttercup, because it's about to get rowdy up in here. That's all I could say to somebody. Ultimately, guys, there's never been any closure for Trini's family. Now, again, this happened back in 1976, guys. That was 44 years ago that Trini went missing. Unfortunately, Trini would be 56 years old if she was still alive today. I think it's just absolutely absurd how the National Park Service handles missing person cases. And you should be very aware that every year in this country, hundreds, if not thousands of people go missing nationally. And it is a sad state of affairs, how the National Park Service handles these things. However, if you're going to go out into the national wildlands of North America and the preserves thereof, please be safe. Take proper equipment, guys. Take a GPS locator. They really aren't that expensive, and it's better to be safe than sorry. Always take extra supplies with you, food, water. Even if you don't think you're going to need it, take extra clothing or a jacket, because it could very well may save your life. But I'd love to hear, guys, that's all I have for you. I'd love to hear what you think might have happened to Trenny Lynn Gibson. Leave me something in the comment section below. But more importantly, thank you so much for being here with me, watching this video. And if you liked it, smash in that thumbs up button. Go ahead and turn it blue for me. It helps me out and lets me know you're enjoying the content, which is super important to me. Also, guys, if you're new to the channel and you've been here this long, I surely hope you'll consider subscribing. Keep coming back. Turn that jolly candy-like button. Just smash it in. Because, guys, I can't grow without you. And also, if you subscribe, hit the bell. Get the notifications, guys. Because, you know what? Don't let the YouTube algorithm decide what you watch. Get the notifications, and then you can decide to watch my next video or not watch it. But either way, you decide, not YouTube. And that's super important as well. But that's it for Patrick today, guys. I'm out of here, and I will see you guys in the next video.